Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome in to a Thursday edition of the Establish the Run NBA DFS Injury Analysis Show. As Mike's dog is very, very excited for
my parents' dog.
So sorry, Mike's dog would be more disciplined than to interrupt the injury.
Oh, of course.
But Mike's parents' dog very excited for this 4-game slate here we have tonight, coming off a 13-gamer last night, which was a lot of fun. We got 4 games here tonight to dive in. So we'll get right to it. Mike, how are you doing today?
Doing great. Be doing a lot better if this dog would be quiet. I'll have to grab him really quick.
You're good. I can ramble a little bit. Yes. Cash Game Gary filling in for Drew Dinkmeyer on the injury show today. Drew and I will be back for the show tonight. I don't know if Mike remembers. We're going to swap shows. I'm doing today. Mike's going to do tomorrow.
Oops, I didn't know that.
Yeah. But regardless, Drew will be back later, but I'm filling in for the injury show today. And I think on either Monday or Tuesday. So you'll see me for some of these injury shows. But yeah, Mike, you got the dog there?
Yep. He's
doing all right?
I'm a therapy human. He's a wild dog. But now that everything's completely off the rails, Dink apparently is the glue that holds us all together. I want to let you guys know this show is brought to you by our friends over at Underdog Fantasy. They have daily NBA snake drafts for money running in addition to many formats of NFL contests still running for huge prizes. If you're playing NBA, Pick'em and seasoned subscribers can use our tool to compare ETR projections to their game. If you haven't signed up yet for Underdog, use promo code ETR for a matching deposit bonus of up to $100. Promo code ETR at underdogfantasy.com. It's easy, man. The account money goes right in there. So I'm a big Underdog fan. All right. Now we went from dogs to underdogs. Let's talk some injuries.
Yeah, let's do it. So let's start right off the top with the major question marks on this slate. And I think we should start in Washington, where Kristaps Porzingis shows up on the injury report with a groin injury. When you see groin in KP, it's not the best news. Taj Gibson also questionable here. What are we doing with this KP news?
Yeah, midday Q tag, never good, especially for Porzingis. Surprised to find out he hasn't had this groin injury listed since 2016, so he's avoided that. He's had a lot of hip stuff, so it's more of like the hip joint as opposed to the groin. So I guess that explains it. But anytime KP gets a midday tag, you are freaking out. So certainly would see more Daniel Gafford in a spot where they wouldn't need it. I'd probably expect them to go small a little bit here to play the switchy game against Luka Doncic, even though you're getting some rim protection with Gafford. I expect them to start with Gafford, to be clear, if KP can't go. But they are pretty comfortable running the Rui small ball stuff, mixing up Kuzma. We'll see if Anthony Gill kind of gets back in good graces. I think they're going to attack him with a lot of big wings with Denny, Rui, Kuzma to a degree. They've got kind of options that way to play the super switch heavy defense, which they've been struggling with a bit. So, but yeah, we'll get more information first game of the day there. So we should definitely know for that one.
Yeah, I believe that was his rookie year or second year that KP had that groin injury. Obviously was during the Knicks. I don't think he'd missed too much time. So it's not as bad as some of this, these other, nagging injuries that Kristaps has had. But as you mentioned, midday Q tag doesn't seem too great there. I don't think Taj Gibson impacts things much there other than if KP misses, just a depth piece that they also wouldn't have if he can't go. All right, let's go over to then the other side. Not the other side of the game. Another game that starts on the 7 o'clock front, 7:30 in Miami. We do get Tyler Hero and Caleb Martin questionable on the injury report. Obviously, the Hero, the big name here. How would you expect Miami in a matchup with Charlotte to attack this game if Hero can't go?
Yeah, so would probably see the same starting lineup if Hero doesn't go. I thought Hero was going to play in this game against the Blazers, so I'm definitely expecting him to play. Not a back-to-back. Should have a pretty good chance to play in a game with a gigantic spread of 11. We could talk about the Hornets in a second, but yeah, expecting him to go. Caleb doesn't sound serious. Got big minutes in the last game. Think he goes. Miami's been pretty liberal with this Q tag overall. Again, we should know this information. We'll get the intent to play mark from the Heat, but expect him to go. I kind of almost want to bet this line if everybody's out there because the Hornets look just dreadful on offense, and we'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, we should kind of have this figured out, I think, before. But I'm expecting these guys to go.
Yeah, and we should note that this is we'll talk more about it on the DFS show, but 4-game slate, everything's either 7, 7:30, or 8. So the information we should hopefully have before lock, but this isn't going to be like a a pivot slate. You're going to have to kind of make your decisions before, if for whatever reason at 7:00 lock, if we don't have that Miami information, we should, but if we don't, you're going to have you kind of the way you want to play ready to go. So I think that's worth noting. Caleb Martin, what's going on with him? Right quad contusion, I guess.
Yeah, it should be fine. I think he's going to go. He played pretty much through the last game, got some late coverage, guarded Dame a bunch late in the game, and got kind of lit up on him as Dame really broke him down and got into the paint and got good shots. Blazers were on fire in the fourth quarter to pull off a really nice comeback win.
Yep, totally. Okay, going over to Philadelphia, obviously still without James Harden. No Joel Embiid on the injury report, which is always good to see. But PJ Tucker is in there with a hip contusion. Obviously a lot of minutes that would open up if PJ can't go. Anything you're hearing on this injury and what we can expect here?
No, non-back-to-back should be fine. Just had a little bit of a fall. Probably going to go. Haven't really seen too many minutes out of him. So if he doesn't go, then we'll probably see some of this small ball stuff. Interesting quotes from Doc Rivers regarding the center minutes, really on two fronts. One, the Embiid stuff. So he told Embiid in the last game to raise your hand when you want to sub and then get up off the bench when you want to go back in. Really, making it easy for the coach to sub him in.
Oh my
God. I love that. And then two, he talked about, you'll notice here on the box score, no Montrezl Harrell, and that was matchup based because they were trying to get a bigger body out there for 8 minutes and so on. So against Capella, Okongwu, I could see this being more of a Paul Reed spot, especially if Tucker doesn't go. Small slate. B-Ball Paul could put up stats. It's certainly thin, but a 4-game slate. Getting different, maybe leaning into Embiid foul trouble, something along those lines is something. But yeah, obviously you would need Tucker to be out to even go there. If they don't start him, I think they're going to want to have another additional defender. We saw them use Matisse Thybulle a lot on Trae Young, and you would want another on-ball defender in like the worst way. So I would expect them to start Tobias at the 4 and have Maxey being a hide guy, almost like they do with Trae on the other end, with Melton and Thybulle picking up the defensive assignments. Thybulle probably getting DeJounte, Melton probably getting Trae.
Yeah, I think those are all great points. And usually I don't even care about PJ Tucker for DFS, but on a 4-game slate, it's hard to rule out any major minute contributor. So keep your eye on that. We'll talk more about it at 5:00. Moving on to the other side of that game, not much on the injury report for the Hawks on the back-to-back, but Jalen Johnson does have the hammy tightness, which is just something that throws a little bit of a wrench in their rotation.
Yeah, back-to-back here after the Hawks last night. Where's their box score at? I lost it. Anyways,
they lost to Utah, right? Yeah,
there it is. Yeah, there it is. So Nate McMillan talked about Trae Young being out of shape and not catching his wind. He said his calf muscle was affected by the shin contusion he was listed with. We know he missed games, so he wasn't able to run as much as they wanted to leading up to the game, and it affected him on the defensive end. So keep an eye out on that. Certainly expecting Trae to play, but pretty discouraging quotes from a guy who certainly needs fitness. So that could be something that affects him there. Again, he's going to play, but did just want to note that was a real interesting comment from McMillan.
Yeah, that is very interesting. That loss last night they were at home too. Man, Utah is just I can't believe it.
Their offense is absurd, man. Utah's offense in the last 5 games is like 122 per 100. It's just like
I thought this was people. Like after the first 5 or 6 games, I just thought this was just fluke. But at this point, they're competing for play. What are they going to do? Anyway, that's a conversation for the NBA DFS show that I know you and Drew have had, but just remarkable. Regardless, I digress. New Orleans on this slate, also on a back-to-back. I screwed up my flag plant with Zion Williamson last night, but someone that impacts Zion, I guess, a little bit in the front court is Larry Nance, who is questionable with the knee there tonight. Any news on Nance and what that would impact DFS-wise?
Sounded like he never had much of a chance to play in the last game, which isn't surprising because that knee injury looked pretty bad. Did get tested, came back clean. So saw about 8 pictures at shoot around yesterday, and I didn't see any Nance. So it sounds like he wasn't even remotely close to playing yesterday. Maybe that was by design for the back-to-back. So I would lean him missing this game, which we saw Valanciunas really do some work yesterday to really bounce back in a strong way. Did get Billy Hernangomez in the mix, a little bit of small ball stuff, but yeah, really nice win for the Pelicans. The Bulls have been playing really good defense. Their starting 5 has been, one of the better defensive units in the NBA. But yeah, expecting leaning out on Nance, but not certain. And so we should find that out too. I think they're probably going to rule him out. They may make him game time, but obviously that won't swing the slate too much. Besides adding some upside to Valanciunas.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was just about to say. As we've seen Jonas Valanciunas now, at least in yesterday's game without Larry Nance, hit that 30-minute mark again. A lot of that is to do with going up against Vucevic and the matchup as well. But certainly Nance's unavailability increases Joe Val's minute ceiling, all of that. Matchup with the Blazers tonight. We're waiting on their injury report, so let's kind of go right over to that. I don't, even if Nance misses, I think that Joe Val would have that same minutes upside, whether you're going against Nurk or Eubanks. So let's talk about that. Obviously, yesterday, Nurkic misses, Jeremy Grant misses, Keon Johnson which saw a ton of value open up on the Portland side of things. Do you have any clue what we're expecting tonight? Because the Blazers have not yet submitted their injury report.
Yeah, so very important to note that before those guys got listed out, they were listed. So here's the order. So the first, everyone was probable. That includes the guys who were out, Justice Winslow, Anthony Simons, and Damian Lillard were all probable. Then we got the Q tags. All those Q tags sat. So now on the back end, Dame, Simons, is it their turn on this back end? So I'm expecting certainly Grant and Nurk to come back. Keon was listed questionable first, actually, so he's actually a little bit more injured rather than a maintenance thing. But be ready here because if Dame's sitting and Simons is sitting, you could get some pretty nice closing line value. And with the Pelicans at home, haven't looked at the lines and where to get them yet. But after the show, I'll be looking at that because there could be some nice CLV to hit on that.
I think that's a really interesting theory there. My only thing is you'd imagine they'd wanted to have staggered Lillard and Simons if they were going to do that, right?
You would think.
So maybe one of those two guys still suits up tonight.
I think they're going to play, but it's just the timing of all that listing was interesting yesterday.
Any idea when they might report?
At worst, it would be I think an hour and 15 from now. They might file when we're
3:30
wrapping the show up, and then it may be an hour after that. Worst case, it would be 2.5.
Okay, so 4:30 at the.
Actually, no. They're in New Orleans, so it'd have to be if not this one, it has to be the next one.
So by 3:30 Eastern, we should know on this. So keep an eye on our projections and everything like that. If you're,
I would lean like 15 minutes from now that they're gonna.
Which would be great, obviously, if we can get it. From there, a couple other things to talk about. Somebody in chat asked about Bogdanovich. Have you heard anything there? Because obviously he's been out.
No, he's actually doing a couple TV spots, but he's doing just like light shooting. He is not even close. So. Okay. Yeah, I would say after Thanksgiving for sure.
Cool. And then Charlotte.
Just actually add to that really quick. I wanted to talk through some things about the DSJ bet we took. So there were some interesting quotes from Steve Clifford after last night's, and he's been just lost. He's like blaming his team for not executing he's really frustrated. This team has a 96 offensive rating in the last 5 games, 5 points worse than the 29th worst offense in that span, which is a massive, massive gap. And he said the small ball killed them. The Blazers ran a lot of zone. They couldn't crack that zone. He said they weren't playing physical. He said they just were giving away points at times and said they are really struggling offensively, which I already said. So we took that DSJ bet. We were already showing an under on him, and there's a chance they sit him. I mean, I think they're going to maybe want to start McDaniels, put him on Jimmy Butler. We got that 11-point spread working for us. So a bet that the math doesn't love, but I feel like these other factors can make that DSJ bet really good for us. We took under 10.5. It's just those DSJ minutes have been really bad. This offense is having major problems right now. They need to rework it.
Yeah, and I'm going to keep betting on this DSJ stuff with Rozier back in the fold and his role continuing to decrease. I mean, it's been a nice little story, Dennis Smith Jr., and the run has been good. And yeah, maybe as he revitalizes his career a little bit, sure, but I still think we know ultimately what Dennis Smith Jr. is, and that's not a 35-minute game guy at the NBA level. So let's stick on Charlotte, though, because what the hell is going on with LaMelo Ball, right? No, it's very concerning here. Still out. We still haven't gotten a timetable, right? Is there?
Nope.
What the heck?
Well, we had 2 people asked Clifford last night, what's up with LaMelo? And he actually gave us some information. He's doing workouts twice a day. I don't know the extent of those workouts, as this dog is just losing it right now. But so I probably another week. He mentioned too that people are stopping him on the street and asking him when's LaMelo coming back. Everyone wants to know when's this dude coming back. He is way late on this timetable they gave, and we're getting no information. So he's doing on-court stuff. I don't know the extent of that. I don't know if it's contact. But yeah, it's been bleak, man, especially with this team losing 6 straight and just being a complete disaster. And we talked about this on the win totals pod here. with Fan just saying if LaMelo went down, it could look really bad, and it has looked terrible. This no depth at the 1 spot, no depth at the 4-3 without Miles Bridges. They're really feeling it, and I think they got to try some new stuff, man. They've run first, second unit so consistently, not running small too much. I think there's only been 5 minutes of PJ Washington without Hayward as a small ball unit. So it's been pretty dicey in this team. This could get ugly here with Miami being rested.
Yeah.
Hornets on a back-to-back. That spread is big, and they could get, if like I said, if those Heat guys are in and we don't have any concerns about them, I think this feels like a blowout with how they're matched up against them.
Yeah, I agree. What is the spread right now?
11.
Yeah, that's. I don't even know if that's enough. Yeah. One other spot that we didn't put in our rundown, but I think just worth noting about because it might not be on people's radar because it ended up off the main DraftKings slate yesterday is Dallas. So Christian Wood is out again tonight. I just think it's worth noting. Maxi Kleber played 33 minutes yesterday. You're expecting to see more of the same. Josh Green also 25 minutes though. So we're expecting to see those two guys kind of be the biggest beneficiaries of no Seawood here.
Yeah, and should mention Spencer Dinwiddie, really big usage. I think it was 30 something. Goes for 29. Wow. Got in the paint a bunch. It wasn't just catching, shooting. So an area where he could take advantage of the matchup with secondary scoring. So I think it's a pretty good spot. Should mention Dwight Powell picked up 2 stupid fouls early in the third to cut his minutes down. He would have been looking at probably 24 minutes. And this was a spot, Kleber was just really valuable against the Magic. So expecting a little bit more Powell in that spot. And again, Josh Green is coming for Reggie Bullock's minutes. Need to get that man. I keep making this joke, but he needs to get red meat back in his diet ASAP because he's just not playing well right
now. Listen, if you want to trade with the Knicks, we'll take him back. They can take Evan Fournier and a couple other people. I loved Reggie Bullock on the Knicks 2 years ago. He was a perfect fit. I always thought it was bad swap for a bad Evan Fournier contract, but regardless, that's just my daily Knicks sadness. We don't need to talk about the Knicks after last night. Anything else on this slate here? No. Looks like the Pelicans. Yeah, we talked about Pelicans are relatively healthy. So I think one other thing, I don't know, right when we went on, this Precious Achiuwa news came in. I don't know if you want to touch on that quickly. So partially torn ligaments in his ankle. Obviously, this impacts tomorrow's slate and moving forward, but that's pretty big for the Raptors. I mean, I get that he throws it together with Koloko and Boucher, and they get weird with their lineups, but Precious is definitely one of their more reliable front court pieces. So it was
well, he was actually doghoused a little bit before the game. Nick Nurse had really ripped him for post defense. He said he likes his offense. And guess who's back in the doghouse again besides this guy? It is
our guy
Boucher.
Yeah.
Chris Boucher got benched. Chris Boucher lost minutes to Otto Porter Jr. and Thaddeus Young after the game. And Chris Koloko also had a really bad game. Nick Nurse said after the game that he was considered actually starting Thaddeus Young over Koloko. So that is trending up quickly here now that we've seen this Precious news. And Otto he was dead tired according to Nurse, and he hit 2 huge 3-pointers down the stretch, which I live bet the Raptors -4.5. So that was very, very. I'm a big Otto Porter fan today.
Yeah, you think Otto's going to be like a DFS kind of consideration here in certain matchups with that?
I think so. I mean, to hear him call him tired and to hear him, play him and lean on him and give him big shots and missing Precious and not Koloko being on a shorter leash. Definitely going to depend on matchups, which we could talk about, which I'm going to write about pretty much right now after the show. But I think Otto and Thad are definitely viable now as Chris Boucher is falling out of favor.
I forgot about that, quite honestly. All right, I think that just about does it. Somebody in chat asking about the T-shirt. Vote Silva Levitan 2024. I'll send you a DM about how to hit up our HR and get yourself a shirt. New merch is going to be coming to the ETR store probably at the end of the month. I'm hearing around Thanksgiving. So keep an eye out. We got a lot more of this good stuff. Whole new line of ETR merch coming. So election season, obviously got to vote Silva Levitan, or maybe we'll get an NBA version one. We'll get a Dink Gallagher one going here. That's what we got to work on. That's what we got to work on next for the next shirt. But
you've had a lot of good jokes here.
Yeah, it's been great. And all right, I think that'll do it. So Mike, if you're good with it, I know you probably forgot we discussed last week, but we're gonna swap shows because tomorrow night something came up for me. So I'm gonna be on the show at 5:00 today with Drew, and then tomorrow, usually you get me on the Fridays. You'll get Mike and Drew for the big slate tomorrow at 5:00 Eastern behind the paywall. please do check out everything we have going on over at ETR NBA. If you're not a subscriber already, obviously can't recommend it enough. We do excellent work, if I do say so myself. And at the very least, as Drew Dinkmeyer would say, please feed our algorithm here. We want the nom-noms. Give us some thumbs up. Give us the subscriptions. Give us the likes. Give us all that good stuff. Tell a friend.
Yeah, Dink has taken away the num 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 sound effect because we're not getting enough likes. So you guys have to give us the likes now. We need that.
Yeah, please gently tap the like button today. That's all. We're not asking for too much. Just tap it. Just give it a little tap.
Free, man. We the amount of money we've given away on this podcast, and we don't get enough likes. That's all we ask from you guys.
That's it. We're not asking.
Hit the subscribe too, please. We appreciate it. And we're not going to do this show anymore. No more bets to get out. No, I'm good. We probably will have to say.
All right. So fun 4-gamer tonight. Definitely tune back in at 5:00. And I think that'll just about do it here for the injury show. We'll see you tomorrow.